Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. Our show is a production of the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation and its affiliated nonprofit political organization, a 501c4, CRRH, are the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp. We're happy to announce we have a couple guests here tonight. Madeline Martinez of Oregon NORML and board member of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, and Mr. Russ Balville, the host of NORML Live and the NORML Stash on NORML.org's website. As always, the Doc Severinson of Hemp is here, Mr. Tim Pate.
Good evening, everybody.
And we'll be taking your phone calls. We have a few film clips to play, so stay tuned as we bring out our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Tax Act. Hey, welcome back. So we have Mr. Tim Pate on guitar, ready to sing.
I do. Hey, how are you doing tonight, Paul?
I'm doing very well.
You've been traveling all over, too, this week. I know that.
Got some road miles to Montana and Idaho and Washington and back.
I got a few road miles on me, too, this week. So,
Yeah.
in fact, it's all in preparation for the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act as well. We've got so many things to announce tonight, so stay tuned because there's just lots of things happening now because we're full steam ahead. It's good to be full steam ahead. So anyway, hey, as you always do on a weekly basis, sit back and watch the pretty pictures. Thank you, everybody.
Well, welcome, Madeline. Welcome back. It's been a few months here, and you too, Russ.
See you again, Paul.
You too. So Madeline and I are the chief petitioners for the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act petition to end adult marijuana prohibition, restore industrial hemp, and we're happy to announce that our petition is about to finally hit the streets. It's
I know.
taken a while, but that we have a pretty good ballot title.
We do, in fact, indeed.
We have a poll out in the streets as well, so soon we'll have some poll results to announce probably by next week, maybe even by press conference before that.
I know, it's pretty exciting. Actually, we just talked about the press conference being on April the 10th. So I'm looking forward to that.
Then we have this big tour with John Trudell and Tim Pate over here. We found out this week that Jim Page, very famous and influential folk singer from Seattle, not the Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, but Jim Page, the folk singer, will be joining us for the last 4 parts of the tour.
Jim Matheson will also
Jim
join
Matheson
us.
from the Europe Awards will be with State of Jefferson.
Yes.
So it's going to be an exciting series of shows. We're going to have our first show down in Grants Pass on April 16th at the Rogue Theater. Then the next night we'll be in Ashland at the Ashland Armory on April 17th. Then on Sunday, April 18th, we'll be at the Oregon State University in Corvallis at the LaSalle Stewart Memorial Center Austin Auditorium. Then we have our big 420 show on April 20th at the Lane County Fairgrounds at the Performance Hall there on Tuesday, April 20th. Then on Friday, the 23rd, we'll be in Redmond near Bend at the Deschutes County Fairground and Expo Center at the Hooker Creek Event Center. And then right here in Rose City at the Roseland Theater in Saturday, the 24th. 8 p.m.
That was
all
well
very
done.
exciting.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, boy, what a memory, huh?
Well, you know, that hasn't been addled too badly by cannabis, or I think it's been improved myself.
I think so, too.
You know.
Well, it's all very exciting, Paul, and that's why I wanted to come on the show and talk to everybody and get you guys all riled up. Let's go.
Yeah. Realize this.
Forward to legalization, a better future for everybody. We are taking viewer phone calls tonight. If you want to call us, you can call us at 503-288-4448. And we do have a caller standing by. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi, how you guys doing? Can you hear me?
Very well. Thank you.
Excellent. So I got a couple of questions. I'll be brief with them, but I do have several, so hopefully you guys can answer them, and I'll do them one by one so we can get through them in a timely fashion.
All right.
The first one is, if cannabis is decriminalized in Oregon, then why are people still getting arrested for simple possession instead of just getting a ticket?
They shouldn't be arrested. In fact, you don't give up any of your rights to be free from unreasonable search and seizure just because you are in possession of less than an ounce of marijuana, and you shouldn't be arrested.
Well, you shouldn't be, but if you look at magazines like Busted, it shows that people are arrested all the time for simple possession of marijuana, and that irks me, and I just was wondering if you're aware of that and whatnot.
Well, certainly I'm aware of it outside of the state of Oregon, but I'm not aware of it inside the state of Oregon.
I'm wondering if it's just charges for possession, or maybe they're tacking something onto that, like, you know, intent to distribute or something.
Or possession of more than an ounce might...
If you look at the Busted magazine, it says simple just possession of marijuana, and they're arrested, obviously, because there's their mugshot. But
Public consumption, maybe?
it could be. I do have heard of a fellow who has a public consumption charge out in a story I was talking to earlier today. And then if you have more than an ounce, or if you have it in different bags, they could say with intent to distribute. And so
Right.
I'm not sure. For a simple possession of less than 1 ounce, they cannot arrest you nor search your premises or your car based just on that.
Okay.
Of course, getting a judge to agree with that might be difficult.
I was recently diagnosed with IBS, and I was told to follow up with my primary care physician to discuss treatment options. I don't want to take pharmaceuticals, and I know my doctor's not going to prescribe. That's what he's going to prescribe, and I don't want to deal with that. So my question is what is it exactly that I need from my chart notes to show, and how many chart notes do I need to qualify for medical cannabis?
Generally, you need your chart notes to note that you have pain and nausea and maybe accompanying muscle spasms. So those are the 3 ways that IBS qualifies in most states. And we've helped well over 1,000 IBS patients all across the country get a medical marijuana permit. And cannabis is a good treatment for IBS. I recommend taking cannabis orally, and it's the CBD in cannabis that's the primary medicine, though the THC helps the nausea.
Okay. And another question. How do you recommend I approach this situation, if at all, with my employer? If I tell them that I may benefit from using this, even though I'm not at the moment. I mean, my employer doesn't pre-employment drug screen, but at the same time, they have a policy saying they can drug test if they choose to. How do you recommend I approach that if it was your situation?
I wouldn't say a word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, there's no reason to discuss that with your employer. You're not going to be taking cannabis on the job. You're not going to be impaired while you're working. As long as that's the case, you don't need to discuss it with your employer.
And one of the things that we always tell everyone, if your employer tests randomly, you should probably get a prescription for Marinol.
Right, and you don't tell your employer before you take the test. You tell the actual person administering the test. You wait till they say, pee in this, and then you tell that person.
What would that do?
Well, that's the person who represents the drug screening lab, and they're the ones who, based on your medical marijuana permit and definitely based upon a Marinol prescription, would say that if you come up positive, then that would be a negative because you have a prescription or recommendation.
Oh, so they would report it as a negative to your employer? Is that what you're saying?
Especially with Marinol, yes.
Okay. Also, I would just wanted to let you guys know, I read an article on Cannabis Culture, I believe it was in last month's issue, that was on the Cannabis Cafe in Portland, and I hope it's going well. And it said in the article specifically that cannabis was being sold essentially over the counter to patients. So I don't know if you guys want to address that. I know that's not what's going on.
Right.
That struck me as odd.
And that was an article about what?
The cafe.
It was an article about the Cannabis Cafe.
It's about the Cannabis Cafe, okay.
Well,
that you guys were selling it, and I know that's not the case. I was like, that's not true at all.
Well, thank you for saying so. But yes, that definitely is not true. There is no exchange for consideration at the Cannabis Cafe. The only thing that you can purchase there is some of our T-shirts, some of our, we have medicine jars, we have sweatshirts, we have plenty of stuff. Let me show you this. Look at this beauty.
Nifty posters.
Yeah, there it is, the Cannabis Cafe. But no, if you're going to the Cannabis Cafe, it's not a dispensary in any way, shape, or form. We give medicine to people by putting it into the vaporizer or filling your bowl, as well as rolling you a joint. So come on and see for yourself.
I thought you guys might want to address that and maybe have them print a retraction, because if they're printing that, that's definitely not the case. So I don't know.
Right. Maybe we'll have them print a retraction or a correction to it.
Yeah. Right. I'm sure they'd be more than willing to.
Yeah, they'd be happy to, I'm sure.
When they're informed of the facts.
I appreciate your guys' time, and please don't pay any attention. Of course, I'm sure you don't, to those prank callers. They're nothing but problems, and I appreciate.
Well, we think we got it resolved now with a couple of changes in our procedure. So, as you probably could tell tonight, it won't be that anonymous anymore.
Excellent, excellent. Well, you guys keep up the good work, and you guys are doing awesome work. And is the Opta petition ready to sign as of now?
We're waiting for the template right now.
We're waiting for the Secretary of State to approve the petition format, and once they've approved the paper and the actual wording and petition lines and everything on the sheet, then we'll be kicking off that campaign.
Do you know how soon that may be?
Definitely before the 10th. Today's the 2nd, so we're talking next week. I mean, they know time's of the essence, and so I'm sure we'll get it out early next week.
We're hoping to have it in our hot little hands by Thursday, and we're having our press conference on the 10th, Saturday, April the 10th. So stay tuned, everybody. Everyone's really excited about it.
How many signatures are needed between that time and the time that the petition is due in?
About 125,000 total signatures, and that covers invalids and illegible signatures as well.
And you have how long to do that?
Until July 2nd. So we have about 100 days from right now, and our petition company says they can do it in 60.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate your time, and I'll let you go for the other callers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to need a lot of volunteers out there, so stay tuned, because we need all of you, just for a little while, put the joint down, step away from the bong, and get involved. This is a crucial time that we just need to bust our asses to get this taken care of. And freedom's not simple, and it certainly isn't free, so we need your time, your energy, and every day, whatever you do, if you pray, if you chant, whatever you do, send your positive energy to our Opta campaign so we can make this happen. I was thinking today, imagine if California goes, Oregon goes, and the state of Washington go. We'll have like the trifecta of states, all free states up and down the West Coast.
West Coast phenomenon.
Whoa, it would be fabulous, huh? Let's do it.
I'd like to also announce that we are now streaming live on the internet, so anyone can watch it around the world on Ustream. And on Ustream, you can type in questions that will be texted to me via the magic of the internet and cell phones. And if you have a question out there and you're watching on Ustream, you can type it right in there to your screen. You're used to that with your tech-savvy program.
Yeah.
All the time. We get text messages on the show all the time.
Yeah, so we're just beginning to implement that here. Last week was our first time.
Tell us about your show.
Well, the show is Normal Show Live. It's the voice of the marijuana nation. We're on the internet at live.normal.org, weekdays, Monday through Friday, at 1 p.m. Pacific, with replays at 3, 5, 7, and 9. So if you're at work and can't listen, you can get there later. It'll be replaying. And then on the in-betweens, we play Daily Toker Tunes, which is a mix from all genres of music. We got blues and jazz and country and bluegrass and old, like 30s and 40s marijuana boogie type music, all the way up through, we got metal and, you know, rap and hip hop and reggae, lots of reggae. So great stuff, live.normal.org. It's a talk show. We have interviews with all sorts of people in the marijuana community, doctors and scientists and great folks. Madeline's on the show all the time, so hope you join us out there.
All right, and happy to say the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation medical clinics are a sponsor
Absolutely.
of the stash.
Couldn't do it without you.
We are glad to do it. I am reading a question from online, and to the folks who said thank you online, you're very welcome. We're more than happy to do it. And we have a question. The question is, who attempted to appeal the ballot title and why? Well, any Oregon citizen can appeal a ballot title, and some fellow out there in Beaverton named Bradley Bonneau was the one who appealed it, and it held us up for about 5 or 6 weeks in the petition drive. But that ballot title was rejected as frivolous by the Oregon Supreme Court, so they just overturned it without review. And so,
well, now am I wrong? But wasn't the challenge dismissed without merit?
Yeah, exactly.
I believe that's what the final was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah.
Which
I
is
think that's
basically
pretty
the same thing.
exciting.
Yeah, so that answers our online questions. So you can ask us questions there online, or you can phone us at 503-288-4448. That's 503.
Well, it doesn't really answer his motive, but I don't know that we can do that.
Well, why?
Really.
I mean, we don't really know why. I mean, we can speculate, but then it would be speculation.
So, you know.
I've never talked to the guy to my knowledge anyway, so I don't know. We looked at him. He looked like he was a hempster. He had a hemp necklace on. I tried to befriend him in the social network, the Facebook, but he rejected it and blocked me.
Aww.
I tried. So.
Oh, well.
Yep.
Let's just move forward. That's all we can really do now, huh?
That is a fact.
Here we go.
We have a telephone call. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi.
It takes so much effort now to get one.
Uh-oh.
Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Yes. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, you're on.
Oh, okay. My question is, I am right now
Lower your TV.
Yeah, you need to turn your
Turn
TV
the TV
down.
down, and we seem to have a microphone out of the control room I can pick up there. Well, you know, folks, we are a totally volunteer show. You see the 3 or 4 of us here in front of the camera. Well, there's 4 people right here in this room behind the camera, another 5 people in the control room, and we're all here as volunteers. So let's try it again. Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
And we have a studio audience, so you're welcome to come down for that. We'll talk more about it later. But let's try that caller again. Hello, caller. Can you hear us?
Yes.
How are you tonight?
Okay. No, I am right now.
Because it's 2 seconds away. Okay, so it can't be a television. It has to be the phone itself. The microphone's on the phone, picking it up from its headset.
I think you're right, Bill. I think
you
it
got
is
it.
the microphone on the phone that's picking it up. There's just no doubt about that. Now let's see if we can isolate the. Oh, that microphone.
There we go.
Yeah. But anyway, hello, caller.
Yes.
We're still trying to talk to you.
Currently, right now, a person on post-prison supervision, and I get off in January. Now, would I still be able to get a card?
Yes, you can get a card whether you're on post-prison or not. Whether you're actually allowed to use it while you're under the supervision of the state, that's going to be at the discretion of your parole officer. Once you are off, then you can definitely get a card. And as long as you have not been convicted of a drug crime since January 1st, 2006, is that right?
06.
January 1st, 2006, then you can be your own caregiver and your own grower. If you've been convicted of a drug crime since January 1st, 2006, then you have to name someone else as a caregiver or grower. But you can still be a patient and possess up to 1 ounce.
Okay, that was my other question. Back in 01 in Colorado, I had got...
no effect. That won't affect it at all. It's way before January 1st, 2006. You don't even have to tell me what it's about.
Oh, well.
Won't affect it.
What's that?
It won't affect it. Anything before January 1st, 2006 has no bearing on whether you can get a medical marijuana permit
once I'm off of
in the state of Oregon.
Prison, I could apply for one and get one?
Yeah.
Exactly. You certainly may. As long as you have a qualifying condition, then a doctor could write a recommendation for you, and you can get a medical marijuana permit under Oregon and Washington's laws.
Okay, now, it was almost 13 years ago, I was in a car accident and fractured my back. So I do have pain from my back.
When's the last time you saw a doctor?
I'm able to work, but I do have pain in my back.
I see. When is the last time you saw a doctor about your back pain?
Long time ago, because it's really it doesn't bother me unless it gets like cold like it is right now and damp.
Well, you have to have severe and chronic pain to be able to get a medical marijuana permit. So if you think that your pain rises to the level of severe and chronic, then that would have to be documented, and a doctor has to sign your recommendation for a chronic pain-based medical marijuana permit.
Okay, I'm also a type 2 diabetic too. So
yeah, that wouldn't affect it either. It doesn't have any negative contraindication for diabetes. In fact, it helps several symptoms associated with diabetes. So I hope that helps you. Good luck in your situation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Interesting caller as always, huh?
It always mixes it up. You know, I did 120 shows before we took phone calls, and it was like I just kept saying the same thing over and over. I mean, how many hours can you talk about marijuana without saying the same thing? And so the phone calls definitely add a whole new dynamic and mixture in there and keep the flow going. And every show looks different.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that we announced the Global Cannabis March, and hopefully you're going to be a sponsor as always.
As always.
And it's going to be our 11th March through the streets of Portland. I'm so excited about it because this is when we can go out there. We're going to gather signatures. We're going to have a big, you know, Paul will be there speaking. We'll have bands. Russ, Tim will be there. We're all going to be there, all of our great volunteers. And
we had about 700 people last year.
750 our police escorts said.
That's good.
And I'm hoping that we can surpass 1,000. That's our
think
goal.
we can.
So get out there. You know, and here's the thing, folks. Love to smoke. That's all I do. I'm sorry, quite a few times a day. But that's not the day that we're going to be smoking in the streets. If you really want to get high, if you want to smoke, stay home. You know, because really this is no dogs, no drugs, no alcohol. We will have some other ways to medicate, like we'll have green capsules, we'll have some tincture, and we'll have some medibles. So come on out. You can enjoy yourself that day. We have plenty of friends that are going to be...
so that's May 6th?
May the 1st.
May 1st
Saturday,
this year. May
the 1st.
Yeah.
Pioneer Courthouse Square.
There's some video of a past march.
Right
yeah, isn't that great?
And if we legalize Octa next year, we will be smoking in the streets.
That's right.
Maybe so, even though
Well,
I'm not sure about the
it's
public
like,
consumption.
We don't want to... We don't really want to.
We don't want to be in anybody's face.
It's like
you know?
the living room, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want, like, I don't want people drinking beers down the street myself. Sorry, just me. But look at that. Isn't that fabulous? We own the streets of Portland for, well, and Pioneer Courthouse Square for most of the day. We pack it up at, what, 5:30?
Yeah, we have bands and vendors going on the entire day. I know Scott Gordon signed the band that won the Snoop Dogg Talent Contest.
Oh, I know. It's so exciting.
we're
There
really
you
excited
are, Russ.
There I am, you know, trudging along in the hat.
There we go. There's no, that's not Linda.
Oh, well, sorry about that.
Close. Linda, she's at the cafe right now. All the people at the cafe, hello.
There's Bill and Red. Hey, Bill and Red.
Hey, Bill and Red, yes. And there you are. And there's Paul
Paul and Paul.
Loney. Paul and
The
Paul?
Pauls.
That's what I call it.
Yeah.
I'm eating with the Pauls.
Okay, well, we have another phone call. Hello, caller. You're on our show. Hello, caller.
Hello, hello.
Yes, how you doing?
There you
Hey,
are.
caller, can you hear us?
Hello, can I hear you guys?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Yes, yes.
Welcome to the show. Do you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I have a question.
Turn your TV down and...
He's sitting.
I'm calling out of Hillsboro, Oregon.
Uh-huh. See, you're there on TV.
And I'm wondering, what's the easiest way I can get my card?
Well, you know, if you think you have a condition that
Is there any,
qualifies for medical marijuana, then you should,
Yes,
first of all, turn your TV down because it's creating
turn
this
your TV all
weird
the way
little
down.
loop on our TV show. So turn that down, please, and listen to me on the telephone. And now, you just have to call this number. We have doctors all over the country who can help you. If you have one of the conditions that qualifies for medical marijuana, call us at 1-800-723-0188. If you're in Hillsboro or the Portland area, like you are, call us at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. But if you're outside of Portland, anywhere across the U.S. of A., call us at 1-800-723-0188. That number that just popped up there on your screen through the magic of computer graphics. All right.
I see it. Thanks a lot, guys.
You're welcome. Good luck.
And,
Thanks for
Yeah, I
calling.
appreciate it. I love the show, too. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. We appreciate your
All right,
support.
yeah, thank you. This is...
Thank you. So if you're out there and you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls for another 30 minutes or so.
Yes, indeed.
We got big 420 celebrations coming up. What's happening for you on 420, Madeline?
I'm going to be medicating all day. Yeah.
So there's a question here. We have a couple online questions. The first one is, are there any negative long-term effects from smoking marijuana? And is vaping better, or does it have long-term effects too? There are some effects, and that effect is bronchitis. And smoking has been shown to lower your risk of lung cancer. You're less likely to get lung cancer and other forms of cancer if you're a marijuana smoker than if you never smoked anything at all, according to recent studies. And with vaping, you eliminate the sole danger, which is of bronchitis, which is a cough. And what smoking long-term does is it the morphology of the linings of your lungs. You have these cilia with these hairs in your lungs, and after you smoke for a year or two, those hairs go away and some mucus-producing cells happen. It's not a pretty picture, but that's what happens from anybody who smokes, and it changes your lungs long-term. And that's with vaping, that doesn't happen at all. And so with vaporization instead of smoking, you can eliminate the bronchitis associated with smoking. And then there's a question for Florida. How can Florida voters push their state farther along? They feel their state is behind the times. Well, you're right. Your state is behind the times. But, you know, it's a pretty area if you like the beach and all of that. And
They do have a medical marijuana petition going on down in Florida. Florida is one of the few southern states that actually has the citizen initiative process. There's only 26 states that are like Oregon, where the citizens can get together and vote and make up a law. The other 24 states have to go through their legislatures, and we've seen that's kind of problematic, like with what happened in New Jersey, making it the no garden state. When the legislators get a hold of it, they tear it apart.
They twisted it, so their law is very restrictive. It doesn't even include chronic pain.
It's amazing. And so Florida's got the People United for Medical Marijuana, PUFMM.org. I love that acronym, PUFM.org. PUFMM.org is fighting for the medical marijuana initiative in the state of Florida. And so, you know, it's one of the few southern states that allows initiative. So I really hope they do well with it.
So Russ, as the voice behind the Stash and the Normal Show on the internet, you're also the outreach coordinator for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. So you're kind of our outpost for the Washington, D.C. folks right here in the great Northwest.
I'm out here on the West Coast, as well as, you know, Paul Armentano's down in the Bay Area. So we've got the two of us out here. He's Normal's deputy director. But yeah, I have the fortunate ability to be able to work on the internet And so when Normal wanted to hire me at the national level, I said, well, that's great, but I have to live in Portland. I'm not moving away from a state where we're allowed to have where we can have a pound and a half in possession. I ain't leaving.
Yeah, it makes sense
not
to
happening.
me. So that's going quite well, and you puts you in a unique position to stay in touch with this whole thing on a national basis.
We've got all sorts of great chapters. You know, we're just talking about the South. We're talking about Florida there. Normal, Louisiana just formed this week. We just managed to christen them there at normallouisiana.org. We've got University of Tennessee, Chattanooga just came on board. University of West Georgia. So those folks, if you're watching this in the South, you're watching it on the internet, you know, in your closet, huddled with your little paper tube and the dryer sheet to make sure that you don't get caught by the man. We're helping you. We're doing what we can. We just need more of you to, you know, stand up and be brave and want to fight it. You know, Scott Gordon, one of the Oregon Normal board members, is from Alabama, and he tells us the stories about it all the time.
I grew up in Texas and North Carolina myself. I lived in Dallas, Texas as a child till I was 15, and in Asheville, North Carolina as a teenager to young adult. And so I know exactly what it's like down south. Anyway. We have a film clip we're going to roll, then we'll be back to take some more of your questions and comments. So stay tuned. Tune in.
The first law governing marijuana required all farmers in the Virginia colony to actually grow hemp, the fiber produced by the marijuana plant. Hemp was valuable because you could use its fibers for rope and canvas, its seeds for soap and lamp oil. Most of the sails and ropes on colonial ships were made from hemp, as were many of the colonists' clothing, maps, and even Bibles. Both the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution were written on hemp parchment.
In 1850, marijuana is put in the U.S. Pharmacopoeia. Doctors are using and prescribing marijuana in the United States beginning in the 1850s. It is sold by the legitimate drug companies.
And marijuana policy remained that way for almost a century. Then along came Harry J. Anslinger. He earned his living chasing rum runners during Prohibition. He became commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics in 1930. At that time, it was becoming apparent that Prohibition was losing public support, and Anslinger shifted his focus from alcohol to marijuana. Anslinger utilized the press, whipping up public hysteria with exaggerated claims of the evils of the devil weed.
There's no doubt, I think, when you look at this history, that the enactment of marijuana prohibition, both at the state level and then at the national level, was not based on science at all. The story of Harry Anslinger's role in the prohibition of marijuana and the criminalization of marijuana users is a very interesting story. It's almost comical when you go back and you read some of the newspaper accounts and some of the rhetoric surrounding the prohibition of marijuana to see these incredibly exaggerated assertions, such as that, you know, marijuana would take normal people upon smoking it and make them assassins overnight, or that inevitably it would lead to insanity, you know, in a larger sense to debauchery and immorality. What Anslinger did is basically sort of assemble all these forces and kind of harness all this energy against marijuana as the assassin of youth and use it as the tool for promoting the adoption of the Uniform Narcotic Drug Act, and it worked.
A few years later, Anslinger would achieve his ultimate goal, the passage of the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937.
The Marijuana Tax Act was passed at the national level in 1937, and that the story about the prohibition of marijuana was basically a story emerging in the 1930s and largely driven by Harry Anslinger.
New immigrant populations were changing the face of American society, and alcohol prohibition had given rise to organized crime and increased violence. Anslinger played the race card and the fear card, as politicians so often have in America, and it worked.
50% of the violent crimes committed in districts occupied by Mexicans, Greeks, Turks, Filipinos, Spaniards, Latin Americans, and Negroes may be traced to the use of marijuana. I believe in some cases one cigarette might develop a homicidal mania, probably to kill his brother. If the hideous monster Frankenstein came face to face with the monster marijuana, he would drop dead of fright. Harry J. Anslinger.
To learn more and to obtain a free copy of the informational booklet, Marijuana, It's Time for a Conversation, please visit marijuanaconversation.org. During the hearings before Congress...
Hey, we will have more of that in coming weeks. And here is the DVD, Marijuana Conversation, from the American Civil Liberties Union of Washington State and their drug policy organization there, and Allison Holcomb. We had Rick Steves, the PBS producer of Rick Steves Travel, as the announcer and an advocate for ending adult marijuana prohibition up in Seattle.
He was very impressed with the Octa when I told him about it.
Great.
Yeah, I thought that was wonderful. He said, I'd love to see this enacted. It would be fabulous.
I think he'd be a great spokesperson for something a lot like it up in Washington.
I think so too.
Maybe that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Hey, we have a phone call. Hello, caller. You are on our show. Thanks for your patience.
Hi. Yeah, I have a question. I'm a card holder in Oregon.
Uh-huh.
And I was wondering, I know that there's such a thing as doctor-patient confidentiality, but what about in the instance where your employer requires drug testing, or an insurance company requires drug testing, and you're using, how are they able to tell your employer that you're under the, you have been using marijuana, it's in your system?
Well, if you have a prescription for Marinol, 99.9% of the drug testing that occurs out there cannot tell the difference between Marinol and organic cannabis. So if you have a prescription for that, then they will report that as a negative result, even if you do test positive. Now, there's a case law that the state of Oregon in Washburn versus Columbia Forest Products says that medical marijuana patients have no protection when it comes to employment rights here in the state of Oregon. Initially, the trial court and the Court of Appeals ruled in favor of Washburn, and then the Supreme Court overturned that. When was that? 2007?
I think so.
About 2007. So that took away all employment rights for medical marijuana patients. But I assure you, when we legalize cannabis with our Oregon Cannabis Tax Act, as we're hoping to do in just a few short months, then that'll bring a whole new dynamic to the issue, and those sorts of things will become a thing of the past.
I think maybe he might have been getting, with the question as well, maybe getting to the idea of why are they able to do that from a philosophical perspective. And what you have to realize is what's going on in the regime of drug testing that we have here is that you are voluntarily giving your sample to your employer in exchange for a job, right? And when we talk about the Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights that we have under the Constitution, that's against our government, right? They didn't write that Constitution against businesses. And they've ruled time and time again that employment is a voluntary act. You don't have to have a job. Right? I mean, come on.
We need to...
Of course you have to have a job.
Reprioritize the system here in the United States, and that's one of the jobs. And I think our Cannabis Tax Act will start that process in a large degree. And once it's implemented and we see industrial hemp return to its rightful place, we'll see a decentralization, I believe, of economic control. We'll see more individual rights and hopefully a move away from rights for the corporations and rights for these, they never die. These corporations that exist forever and
these infinite beings that have the
we
same
need to
rights
have
as us.
natural individuals need to have these rights, not these corporations. And hopefully that's what will happen someday.
Companies as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. But try Marinol as a prescription. You can get one if you qualify for medical marijuana.
Yeah, I'm a card holder.
Right.
But I mean, I enjoy, the way that I use it.
Sure.
But
you can also have a prescription and
healing. I don't want to take a pill.
Yeah, you don't have. Yeah.
You don't have to take the pill.
Just need to get a prescription for it.
Yeah. And it's synthetic THC, so it won't hurt you.
Make an appointment at THC.
But it's expensive.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for your call.
Thank
we appreciate it.
Have a great evening.
Think we have a question here in the studio. So go ahead.
Well, on the topic of urinalysis, I wanted to talk about nanograms per liter.
Right.
I am told that 6 nanograms per liter shows use of marijuana.
Oh, that's not true at all.
No.
No, you have a background of up to 30 nanograms per liter. That's from your endogenous anandamide, the the body's own cannabinoid, and so everybody has some metabolites from their nervous system of THC, and anandamide are identical, and THC is produced in marijuana, and the anandamide is produced in the brain.
So is there a standard cutoff limit for the urinalysis?
30.
About 30.
Yeah, 15 to 30.
What's a normal level for someone who's, say, got fibromyalgia or chronic pain and they're using it on a daily basis? And what level, is there a level where you might become concerned?
Well, what they're testing for are metabolites. These are things that have already been processed by the body and are inactive. So the sooner it had been between the time of use and the test, the higher the level will be. Typically, if you're high at the time, your test can be as high as 1,200 nanograms per liter, and if anything over 50 is generally considered a positive test result.
Are we talking about blood tests or urine tests?
Urine tests.
Urine tests,
Urine
okay.
tests.
I was going to say, interviewing with Paul Armentano numerous times on the blood testing issue.
Yeah,
and that's
blood
when they start talking
different.
about 5 nanograms per milliliter of active THC, which is a whole different...
Yeah, that's active THC.
Yeah.
You can't get that in urine.
Right.
You can only get active THC in the blood, and it's going to be gone entirely within 3 to 4 hours of smoking or vaporizing, and 6 to 8 hours of ingesting.
So are you referring to blood tests, though?
I was referring to urinalysis.
Urinalysis,
yeah.
okay.
Urinalysis testing, generally above 50 nanograms per liter, is considered a positive test.
And Paul Armentano, our deputy director of NORML, actually stated that by the time you test already, the 4 hours have lapsed. So it's actually a test for non-impairment. You know, even if it's gone through you. And so that's amazing. They had a isolated test group, and 3 months later, they still tested positive, and they had not consumed anything. So urinalysis are not accurate at all.
Yeah, they
well,
weigh the
just
body.
a personal comment that for people who are undergoing chronic pain or fighting some health issue, their cannabinoid count might be extremely high, but they are not high. And I can say from personal experience and talking to other people who had high nanograms per liter readings.
And that's why they're inaccurate.
And that's something that always cracks me up. You know, we talk a lot about Marinol. We keep bringing up the Marinol prescription, and you know, one of the boogie scare words they try to use with this is how potent marijuana is now. But of course, the 100% potent Marinol is just fine. But there's a warning on a Marinol bottle, a prescription for Marinol, that says, until you know how this may affect you, don't drive or operate heavy machinery. Which to me implies, once you do know how it will affect you, go ahead and drive, get behind the wheel, no problem. So the idea to me that medical marijuana patients using a much less potent, a natural herb, that we should worry so much about their impairment as the scare that we have these days, I think it's way overblown.
For sure.
Well, thanks for your question. We'll be taking another question in the studio audience in just a minute, but we're going to go ahead with our sharing or show and tell section. Right here we have a U.S. flag, and this flag flew above the United States Capitol in Washington, D.C. to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation. Got to thank Iko for his work in getting this thing dedicated and sent to us. The flag that flew over the Capitol, I think, was August 29th, 2009, which would have been the 10th anniversary of the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation.
Excellent.
Next door, we have an Eli Lilly product, a cannabis indica fluid extract, number 97, one of about a half dozen different cannabis products that Eli Lilly had. This comes with a label on the back from Scott Pharmacists in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that says it was on hand on October 1st, 1937. That's the last day that marijuana was legal, because the Cannabis Tax Act of 1937 went into effect that very day. So this was a legal item in the pharmacist's cabinet there in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at H.R. Scott's Pharmacist. Next door, we have from LV Masica a cannabis container. This was sent to LV in the mail containing roughly a ½ pound or 300 pre-rolled medical marijuana cigarettes rolled at the Research Triangle Institute down in North Carolina. And it was from marijuana that had been cultivated at the University of Mississippi in Oxford, Mississippi, at the test garden that's allowed to produce it. So this is legal marijuana that the federal government grew, and they give patients 6 pounds a year.
Yes.
They give them 6 pounds a year of these
11
pre-rolled cigarettes. And I have actually shared a couple of these cigarettes with LV and vaporized one to see. It's bunk. It's kind of like Mexican. It's got that spicy sativa.
Nasty.
Yeah, it's not, and it's got stems and seeds in it, just like we used to roll back in the 70s.
Yeah, they just grind up the whole thing.
So it's not good stuff. Next door, vanilla hemp milk. This is just one of many brands out there. In fact, this is an old container. This company has a new container. It looks entirely different, but this is just a wonderful example of hemp milk. And next door, from Hemp Oil Canada, the largest producer of hemp seed and hemp oil in North America, we have hulled hemp seed.
Oh my!
And it's so tasty. We're just going to break some of these out here and maybe share a little on the show. Have you tried any of these lately?
Oh, I love those.
I know. They taste like a cross between sunflower seeds and walnuts and cashews. You know,
have you ever had a hemp seed smoothie? They're fabulous.
And it's high protein. Yeah. It's got all the omega-3 fatty acids that your body needs that we don't get in our normal diet, and they stop heart attacks and stop all kinds of things.
They're really good for you.
So
they're great in yogurt.
We have another question in the studio, and then we'll take one on the phone, and then we'll see if we got one on our live streaming on the internet. So go right ahead.
Hello. Well, I had a question relating to another question someone had asked last week, but there was actually something you said just a moment ago I'd like to clarify. I had a good laugh at what I was pretty sure was sarcasm. You said it's synthetic THC, so it won't hurt you.
Yeah.
Which is I think the funny thing there is that's the implied joke is that THC, organic THC would harm you.
Most synthetic pharmaceuticals will hurt you, was my point. Yeah. I mean, you see what all those different pharmaceuticals, they advertise at us on the television. Talk to your doctor and see if you should, use this drug. And if, I won't try to imitate some
Side
of those
effects include fatal episodes,
right.
anal leakage. Yeah,
if you start to lose eyesight, quit use and contact your physician immediately.
Yeah, my favorites are the SSRIs, the antidepressants they give to people and say, if you have thoughts of suicide. It's like, wait a minute, I'm depressed. You're going to give me a pill that gives me thoughts of suicide?
Exactly. Right. That's a very good point.
It's amazing.
That was the point there, is that most pharmaceuticals would have a negative side effect, but synthetic THC would be harmless.
But I guess, I just wanted to make sure and clarify for the people who didn't pick up your big sarcasm.
Yeah.
Organic THC is, if anything, less harmful than the synthetic.
Oh yeah, well it's the same. It's just it's better. I think organic's better.
Way better.
Well,
and it's a lot cheaper. This synthetic THC can only be produced by a patented process, and it's very, very expensive.
Certainly isn't
more expensive than gold.
Well, the main question I had, I believe it was last week or the week before that a man had come in or called in. Actually, he had mentioned being on probation or parole or something like that, and that he was afraid that his parole or probation officer might get in trouble somewhere like that, and you had recommended that if his parole or probation officer said something, that he go talk to a presiding judge. Mm-hmm. And that the presiding judge would then order the parole or probation officer to obey.
I wouldn't say he definitely would. Could. It'd be up to the judge you're talking to and you before.
Okay. Well, I'm wondering how does the medical marijuana card affect things? I know I've spoken with a lot of other patients, and I started making my own pipes that would go through a metal detector, because sometimes we get called to jury duty, or we have to go. I mean, sometimes people will go to pay a traffic ticket or something like that, end up going through a state or a county building that's said to be a secure building for, for the safety of other people, and they may be taking insulin syringes and prescription narcotics with them, but for some reason their medical marijuana is the only thing that causes a problem at those security checkpoints. How would you say the law applies to things like that, and what can we do to advocate for ourselves?
I think to advocate for yourself, your safest way is just to not take anything into those courthouse situations. That way you don't run afoul of having to deal with them. But if you're drawn into them, I try to compare it to the old, being an old Southerner, the old Southern Brer Rabbit stories. You don't want to touch the tar baby. Once you touch the tar baby, you're not going to shake loose again, because it's going to stick to you, and you're going to have to try to pull it off, and then you're stuck with two hands. And
I
gosh,
understand
it's like
that.
the Brer Rabbit's tar baby.
I understand that perspective, but I guess that's not really the question I'm asking, because this
well,
isn't a
once
political
you're in
advocacy
it, I would say
show.
talk to a lawyer and have your lawyer represent for you, and just tell the truth, and hopefully,
well, because I know in my
it's really going to be at the discretion of the local supervisors at whatever facility you're going through security detection at. But
and there's a lot of people who might be in a situation similar to mine, where not having a car to maybe leave it in, and being disabled and living so far away that it's not as if it were a simple act.
You need it for day to day.
Yeah, because there's a lot of pain involved.
Then I would recommend, before you go through that security, to talk to them about it and say, I want to know what I have to do here before I run afoul of any sort, and maybe do it by telephone.
Well, I know it may be maybe, I don't know, almost a year ago now, that I had heard you cite a federal law that you had dug up that was actually specifically applying to federal policy on controlled substances, and had said, and I'm hoping that maybe you can refer to that so I can cite that in the future when advocating for myself.
Well, yeah, there is a federal law. The Federal Controlled Substances Act itself has a clause that says explicitly that state regulation of controlled substances supersedes federal regulation, and that's the Federal Controlled Substances Act is Title 21. So the citation is 21 U.S.C. 903. It's Section 903. It says explicitly, 21 U.S.C. 903, that states can regulate drugs differently than the federal government, and that state regulation is preeminent. Doesn't say it in exactly those words. It says something like, the federal government shall not step into the domain that is the states, and unless there's a positive conflict between the two, and things like that.
Okay. Well, I think that should help me, hopefully. Thank you very much.
21 U.S.C. 903.
I still think we have to be really careful what battles we pick, and because we have medical marijuana. If that starts to be a problem at the courthouse, I could see them complaining about it. There already are many problems with bad neighbor policies that are growing marijuana and have Rottweilers around and stuff, and it's really turning bad.
We have a caller on the telephone. Hello, caller. Welcome to our show.
Hi.
Hi.
I'd just like to know, if we're as individual people don't know a lot of other people that partake in the medical marijuana or any kind of marijuana, what can we do as individuals to help with the Tax Act, to help pass the Tax Act?
Get the petition. There's a few ways. Of course, making a financial contribution is one way, and you can do that right online by going to cannabistaxact.org or octa2010.org. In fact, here in Oregon, if you're an Oregon taxpayer, there's a $50 tax credit where the state will actually give you up to $50 back, 100%. For any political contribution to an Oregon political committee. So the political committee that's supporting this are Oregonians for Cannabis Reform, or OCR. And the donations can be made online and is processed by C&E system. Another way is to get our petition, which soon you'll be able to download it, print it on a white sheet of paper, sign it, get your friends to sign it, and mail it back to us. That's another way. Another way is to mail it back to our office. The address will be right there on the petition in terms of where to mail it back to.
Exactly.
Right here in Portland.
And spread the word, let everyone know, because even if you're not a cannabis consumer, if you believe in hemp, if you believe that no other American has to die for foreign oil, we can grow our own hemp seed fuel right here in Oregon. we can stop
Yeah.
importing hemp.
And if the federal
start
government
exporting
can
hemp.
grow bunk weed and give it to sick people, Oregon farmers should be able to grow high-quality cannabis and provide it to patients all over this world. And it'll put Oregon on the cutting edge of the hemp and cannabis industries.
Yeah. So you got to get out there and you've got to tell other people about it, and you've got to explain it to them with the simple talking points that we have online at our website, Oregon Cannabis Tax Act.
It's Cannabis Tax Act
2010.
.org and OCTA 2010.
Yeah, go on there and find out all about it.
There it is.
Go to town hall meetings and talk to your fellow. You know, that's a great place to gather signatures because everybody there is a registered voter. And talk to your legislator and let everyone know. I just corrected Representative Ben Cannon, who thought that Oregon Normal was supporting another initiative. And I told him what we were doing. He said, well, we'll send people your way. You know, because a lot of people want to know about legalization, especially with what's going on in California and everywhere, actually. And, you know, everybody, you need to get ready to come out to Seattle Hemp Fest.
Seattle Hemp Fest and the Oregon Hemp Stock Festival right here in Portland.
The first normal conference here since 1982. Right here in Portland, Oregon.
That's right.
Right.
Get ready for it. It's the same week. It starts September the 9th. Right here at the Benson Hotel. It's a beautiful place. Get involved. You'll want to hear all the speakers, and you'll want to know what's going on with Normal and how we're changing everything. We have an ad at in New York at Times Square.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We are down with just 40 seconds left,
shoot.
Madeline, so I'm going to have to interrupt you and just thank all you folks out there for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you. The guy wants to know if marijuana is going to lower your sperm count. The answer is no. Thank you.
We'll have to ask Willie Nelson's 9 kids.
Right, exactly, or my 3 for that matter. And so anyway, I want to thank you for coming. Here's Mr. Tempeh. Help us restore hemp.
Yes.
See you next week, folks.